Welcome to Lineups and Lures. Join hosts Joe and Chris as they break down the biggest stories in professional and amateur sports and reel in the best fishing stories and tips. Whether it's game day strategy or the perfect catch, we've got you covered. Grab your gear and get ready. This is Lineups and Lures. The gang is back together. We're in the same room.
For the first time in like 3 weeks.
It feels like it's been a while.
Has been a while. There's been lots happened over the last few weeks.
Yes, there has. What do you think about some of that college baseball this past weekend?
College baseball was crazy. I was kind of able to still tune in a little bit while I was down under on vacation. Wow, let's start with UP. Perfect game.
Perfect game.
I don't care at what level. That's something special. I mean, to get 27 of them in a row is, I don't know where it ranks in the level of sports as far as the hardest feats to achieve, but it's got to be somewhere up there at the top. 27 in a row is pretty special, and congratulations to the kid. I got to catch a no-hitter in college, which was pretty special, but certainly not a no-hitter, so that's awesome.
Yeah, 9 innings, 12 strikeouts, 90 pitches in 9 innings. That's the most impressive part.
Was Greg Maddux pitching?
Might as well been. Left-handed version.
Right? Yeah, there you go, kids. Challenge up. It still works.
Yes, throw strikes. Let your defense play behind you.
Pitch to contact. No, don't pitch to contact. But
pitch to contact. Hey, 90 pitches in 9 innings. There's some pitch to contact going on there.
There was definitely a few get-me-over curveballs in there. Absolutely. So that's a great deal. Great for the program and great for the kid. Happy to see it. Talk to me, Joe. I think Oregon's got a little offense down in Eugene.
You remember when they first opened that stadium and everyone was kind of complaining and commenting on how that's not a hitter's park? They just scored 70 runs in 4 games.
I mean, that's disgusting.
And it's in March when it's cold.
Yeah.
I mean, they're running balls out of the yard left and right. The whole lineup is producing. And, yeah, they were playing against Columbia, which isn't necessarily a top-tier team. But, man, to put up 70 runs in 4 games, 25 runs, 35 runs in a game is pretty unbelievable stats.
Yeah, no, it's I'm obviously happy to see them succeeding, and obviously we've also got a number of local kids in that program and coming up through that program, and as much as we wear the orange and black, that always good to see the crosstown rival doing well, and a lot of local kids doing well and getting good reps. So no.
And they keep moving up the rankings too. They're definitely top 15 and starting to maybe crack into the top 10 once their strength of schedule starts to improve a little bit. I think they haven't really played anybody outstanding at this point, so I think that first time that they really play a good team, a top 25 type team, that's just going to propel them in the rankings.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of your road games no longer just being up and down the West Coast and having to travel, to the Midwest and then the East Coast to play road games. That's a little different than taking an hour flight to San Francisco or a couple hour flight down to LA or the desert. So time will tell. We'll see how it happens. But, they got their TV money, so let's hope it was worth it.
They do. But they also travel a little bit differently. They're not flying in day of and trying to play that night. They get to come in the day before, get a full night's sleep. But there's definitely going to be a lot more travel, and it'll be very interesting to see how that plays into it.
Do we know if they get chartered flights or are they doing commercial?
I would assume they're flying commercial.
So they're still at the mercy of whatever planes they can get. And
delays, everything.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
The boys in orange and black have been in Arizona. They've been in Texas. They got to experience, I think every childhood kid's dream, getting to play on a big league ballpark, and that's got to be huge. But why don't we discuss a little bit about the positives and the negatives that through the first 10 games of the Beavers season?
Well, we talked earlier, and I thought it was going to be a pitching-heavy carrying that team, and it's maybe not the case.
Well, I think there's still plenty of great pitching that's happened. I mean, it looks like the starting rotation is set. Kleinschmidt, Keljo, and Whitney. Whitney had a rough outing in there and got roughed up one time, but that's going to happen in baseball. I don't think that's anything to be concerned about at this point. You see some of the old faces in Joey Munt and Eric Segura seem to have cemented their places at the top half of the at the top half of the bullpen. And it looks like there's a new kid in Matthew Morrell that's eaten up some innings, and looking forward to hopefully seeing some of those guys play live later this week down at Goss ourselves. So as far as the pitching goes there, hitting, I don't think there's any surprises here. It's too early and the sample sizes are too short to really say that, oh my goodness, we could be onto something here. But the only things that I would point out, Avia has just come in and dominated at shortstop. Turley is learning to hit the ball out of the park, the opposite field, which is only going to increase his draft status.
And he's doing it consistently.
Now, much like we said about the Ducks, yes, they've played a couple of teams, but we haven't got into full schedules. And the other thing is, let's remember they also got to hit in Arizona and Texas, so the weather was a little better down there than up here. So they're going to be in the friendly confines of Goss Stadium this weekend, and looking ahead at the weather, probably in the low to mid 40s at game time on Friday night with looks to be cold and clear, but the ball ain't going to travel early in the season. So we'll see how they do at home. But yeah, it looks like Mitch has got one hell of a roster set up, and I think these guys control their own destiny at this point.
Yeah, it seems to be a fun team to watch. They got the offense is definitely coming along. They run out almost the same lineup every game, which that consistency is good. It'd be nice to obviously see some more guys get experience in there, because you just never know when a freak injury might happen or something. But the guys that are in the lineup every day are really playing well, which is fun to watch. And the pitching staff is probably better than I even expected, because the freshman, Friday night starter, that's a ton of pressure on a top 10 team. And he's come in and really thrown well. The JC transfer, Kleinschmidt out of Lynn Benton, he's thrown really well. He hasn't gone as deep into games yet, which I find kind of surprising. But yeah, it's been good to watch. And, having a guy like Munn at the back of the bullpen with all that experience, I believe he's been to Omaha. Like, he's been around for a few years, so that's a pretty good guy back there to anchor the bullpen.
Yeah, and I think, once again, it's certainly not time to hit the panic button after 10 games, and most guys having, the starters having 35, 40 at-bats. Dallas obviously has had a slow start to the season. There's a guy that was obviously looking to raise hell in the middle of the lineup. But, then there's been maybe some surprises, and you look at the big kid at first base, Craig, and he's got 5 round trippers already. So there's a little unexpected additional offense. So, yeah, I think this is just going to be excited. I think they really are 10 to 12 deep in the lineup. So, I hate to say this, but injuries are a real thing. It's going to happen somewhere along the line. You hope it's a short-term niggling stuff, but I think the fact that Mitch is going to be able to plug and play with guys is going to be a recipe for success.
We're heading down on Friday night for the home opener, so it's going to be a good time seeing them playing back at Goss again for one of the 20 that we get to go see. This summer, take your game to the next level with Portland Baseball Club. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills or compete at a high level, our summer teams offer the perfect opportunity for players of all ages. With expert coaching, top-tier facilities, and a commitment to player development, you'll be ready to dominate the diamond. From hitting and pitching to fielding and mental toughness, our summer teams focus on it all. Don't miss your chance to be part of something great. Join the Portland Baseball Club this summer and experience baseball like never before. Sign up today at portlandbaseballclub.com. Let's get into the big boys. MLB. So spring training is in full swing. The games have begun. Players are starting to find their roles on the teams. Rosters are probably getting close to being solidified. The biggest news coming out of this, and I want to discuss, is the robot umpires and our automatic strike zone. So some information came out about the interpretation of the strike zone and what it actually looks like. And as a catcher, I want to hear your thoughts on what you think the strike zone is and where the strike is called based on the depth of home plate. Is it the front of home plate? Is it the back corner of home plate? Start with that, and then a little bit into what you think the height is. And then I got a little bit of information for you that I think will be eye-opening.
Yeah, so, 20 years ago, 25 years ago when I was catching, I believe the strike zone was different than it was today based upon the fact that when we were playing, the bottom of the strike zone was probably mid-shin, and the top of the strike zone was probably bottom of the belt. That was obviously significantly lower than the strike zone that Major League Baseball players see today, where essentially you're looking at kneecap, if not top of kneecap, to slightly above the bat to maybe bottom of the letters on the uniform jersey. So that's the first thing. There isn't a hitter in America that won't tell you that hitting the ball higher in the strike zone is easier than trying to hit a low outside pitch on the outside corner. That's just the toughest pitch to hit. Even Ted Williams famously was quoted, "If every pitcher could hit the outside corner low and away, I would have been a 200 career hitter." So,
I don't know. Hitters seem to figure that out about 8 to 10 years ago, and that's when the whole launch angle swing took over, and pitchers had to make an adjustment. And now they're throwing up in the zone, and look what's happening.
So I think if you're a complete hitter and you're trying to hit for both average and power, and you have to protect the entire strike zone, the low and outside pitch is still the hardest one to hit.
Okay, so where is a strike called in relationship to home plate?
Yeah, so it's
front of home plate, back of home plate, middle, all over. What?
It's always been my opinion and the way my eye looked at a strike zone as the front edge of home plate was like crossing the plane in the NFL. Yes. Where that ball touches the front of the plate, that is the point of strikeable ball.
Absolutely. And that was always my interpretation too. We've spent our entire life in this game, and we always thought that the front of home plate, if the ball crosses the very front corner, it doesn't matter where the catcher catches it.
Correct.
If it crosses any part of the front part of home plate, it's a strike. It's not true.
Okay.
So using some connections that I have, I was able to eventually work my way up to a major league umpire and got some information. So the strike zone is a 3D model of the entire home plate.
Okay.
And it goes up and down with the basis of the strike zone. And if at any point a ball crosses into that 3D zone, it is a strike. So the story is that Sandy Koufax could throw a curveball that would be in the strike zone at the front of home plate and still bounce in the dirt before it got to the catcher. And that, by the rule of the game, is a strike. However, most umpires aren't going to call that. So when you're seeing like the K zone on TV, that's not really accurate, because that is more or less the front of home plate. And you're starting to see a lot more that balls are starting to cross the back corner of home plate and being called strikes, but you don't see that on the K zone because of the way the representation is on TV.
So I want to get some clarification on that. Is that actually like in the book, or is that one umpire's interpretation? Give me some clarification on that.
It is.
Please.
So here's a quote. So the strike zone has always been 3-dimensional, with the ball crossing any part of the plate within the zone. It is a strike. So if you think about an image of a 3D plate.
Yeah, no, I got it.
If it crosses anything in there, it's a strike. And this whole conversation started because MLB released an image, or Fox actually released an image of the strike zone depth, and they put a center marker on the middle of home plate. So 6 inches in from the corner, 6 inches in from the front and back, and basically a middle point. And that started this whole discussion about is that where pitches are being called a strike, and then it escalated into, no, it's actually a 3D model vertical of the strike zone. I always thought it was the front of home plate where it crosses the plate, but that's just not true. And so how do you call a curveball?
Well, and this is, okay, so let's take a step back here. First of all, this is kind of news to me too. If there isn't a player in the world that is going to think of the strike zone like this, you need... Like, essentially now we're kind of talking about the strike zone as being like a basketball hoop, where if it gets anywhere in the hoop, it's a strike. Like, it's, the strike zone's always been that front edge of the plate, a definitive marker, because as a hitter, I used to manipulate the strike zone like I liked the ball up in the zone. What was I famous for doing in college? I would get out and kick out the front of the batter's box so I could, unless the guy was throwing 90 plus, I'd go up and kick out the front of the batter's box so I could get 1.5 feet, 2 feet closer, so that ball was more knee, mid thigh, as opposed to chasing my shoe tops.
Yep.
So essentially, I was swinging at balls the whole time if I was out in front of home plate. But I think, okay, if the rule's the rule, I think we should probably go to Major League Baseball and have them fix this, because every player in the world that I know of, I never played with, or ever played against, thought the front of the plate is where the strike zone is and not. And that's the way we're all taught to our hitter's eye to work. So, yeah, I'm not happy about this, as you can tell.
It's a whole conversation, and I haven't talked to any of our former players that are in professional baseball to kind of get their input on this yet. I'll do my homework on that. But, I mean, I'm just thinking about curveballs and sliders. All it's got to do is cross a little bit of that section of the plate, and it becomes a strike. So when you're using this automatic strike system, is your TrackMan Hawkeye technology, is that creating that 3D model, or where is that tracking? Because my interpretation of TrackMan, having a TrackMan, is that it records where it crosses the front of home plate. Like, we literally put markers on the front of home plate and the back of it, so that way the machine knows where to be looking for the baseball in relationship to home plate.
The other thing that I would say about this is when you are playing the game, your eye, there is a spot where the pitch is coming towards home plate. And as either the catcher receiving it or as the hitter hitting it, it's decision time. And that isn't when the ball is over the front of home plate or when it's sliding. You've made that decision. I don't know how quickly exactly the human eye works. I think the average pitch takes something like 0.4 of a second to get from release to the glove.
I think that was back when the average fastball was about 90, and now with effective velocity extension, it's shorter.
It's shorter. So the human brain, I think, takes like 0.25 of a second to recognize. So you've got a window of about 0.05 to 0.08 of a second to make your decision whether to swing or not. So you pick, there is a spot somewhere 10 feet, 12 feet in front of home plate where the body says go or no. There is no way that an umpire, and I even umpired a couple of high school games when I was in college and in a couple of bucks, and you make that decision, ball or strike, when that ball is out in front, because you know where it's going to end up, because you've played the game. Like, you know where the ball, by then you know, is that ball breaking? Is that ball tailing? Is it a fastball that's coming straight down the pipe? You've already made the decision. So I think that even though the rule book might say this, there is no way the human brain it's just not wired for that. There's no way. You pick a spot and you know where, and that's decision time. And so while the rule might say this, I don't think there's an umpire in the world that can actually say that, that got the backside with a slider, or, the curveball dropped into the zone over the plate.
But umpires are being judged. I mean, they have a post-game report every single game on their accuracy and how well they do with calling balls and strikes. And if this is the true strike zone, they're going to get reports and say a Clayton Kershaw curveball, which potentially crosses the front of home plate at a hitter's eye level, that is clearly a ball in a hitter's eyes, but has super late breaking depth, is now a strike because it crosses the very back corner of home plate and hits that. And there's going to be technology that can back that up with the challenge system that's currently in place in a trial that can say that is a strike based on the strike zone.
Yeah, so I think the conversation we really need to have here is that ultimately the players are going to get together and go, look, this is what the rule might have said. And for the first 200 years of playing this game, where technology like we have today did not exist, we all kind of assumed, it's the front of the plate. That's kind of where we call the balls and strikes. Everybody was like, yeah, agreed. Okay, move on. And we played the game. Now you've got nerds that want to analyze the game that never actually got to play the game, and they think they're going to just annoy the hell out of the rest of us, which is really all this is, because it should be very simple. Pick a spot. To me, it's always been the front edge of the plate. I think if the MLB Players Union and the umpires and the owners all got together, I don't even think there'd be an argument about this one. I think they'd just say, change the rule to say front of the plate.
But I think we're on the wrong track here. I think this has always been the rule. I think it's been our interpretation that is incorrect. And that's the part that was surprising to me, is that this isn't a new thing. This has always been the interpretation of the strike zone, coming from an ex-MLB umpire with 20 years of experience at the major league level, did World Series games, very high profile. And he's saying that this has been the strike zone and the interpretation all along. It's never been just the front of home plate. So it's definitely an interesting conversation. And as this automated strike zone and technology expands, I think it's going to be something to really look at. Speaking of the strike zone, so did you happen to catch the, Max Scherzer's really outspoken about this strike zone. He's, as many veterans are, they don't like this challenge system. And I thought it was kind of funny. So his old teammate, Trey Turner, hops in the box, leads off the game the other day. First pitch, cock shot right down the middle. Trey Turner taps his hat, looking for a challenge. Everyone got a little giggle out of it. I think Scherzer got a little pissed off, but, a little gamesmanship in spring training, kind of fun.
Well, yeah, I think that's boys being boys. I thought that was funny as hell, and I think hey, these are grown men getting paid a lot of money to play a game, and everybody needs to realize that. And I think sometimes that stuff is good for the game. There's no malice or anything with that. That's just boys having fun, making a joke. I mean, how many times have we messed with the kid on the bat boy saying, "Have you got the key to the batter's box?" I mean, can you find the box of curveballs for me?
Hey, we pulled that one out the other night. So. Kid was looking for a solid 10 minutes trying to find the box of curveballs.
Yeah, and then you send him to the other coach looking for the keys to the batter's box. No, I don't got it, but check with the umpire out second base. These are little things that are a rite of passage in the game that are good-natured fun. And yes, I got no problem with it. Scherzer, lighten up, kid.
Oh, he's nicknamed Mad Max for a reason.
Oh, yeah. To throw the ball like he does, you can pretty much do whatever you want to. So, yeah.
Enjoyed Lineups and Lures? Like, share, and rate the show to help us grow. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening, and catch you next time on Lineups and Lures.